welcome to the Paper Snob. This is Tara. Today I am working on a very special hop. My friend and fellow creator here on YouTube, Miss Shannon from Creative Chaos in Tennessee, is celebrating her accomplishment of having 2,000 subscribers. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a goal that most of us have here on YouTube, and I am so thrilled to be able to celebrate with Shannon. So what she has asked us to do is to take the time to rewind and check out our very first YouTube video and recreate it. So basically we're taking that very first layout or project that we created here on YouTube and we're scrap lifting it. And so right here in front of me I have the layout that I actually created on that video. That video was a Mix It Up Monday video back when I was brand new to YouTube. My friends Anna and Kimberly hosted that hop. Anna did most of the admin work, and then later when Anna and Kimberly both left YouTube, I took over the hop, and so now I run that particular hop on my Facebook community group, and you are welcome to join if you would like. So because it's Mix It Up Monday, we start with a sketch and we mix it up by adding mixed media. And in this particular layout, I added texture paste and watercolors. And so I'm going to recreate this. It's going to look a little bit different. Of course, it's a scrap lift, but I am not going to lift it exactly, and I'm not even going to be using the sketch that Kimberly created. Anyway, I'm going to be using this collection from Vicki Booten. This is Color Study. This is one of my favorite collections of hers, and I used Vicki Booten on the original layout. That is, the name of it actually slips my mind. All Good Things, that's the name of it. And so I thought it would be fun to pull out another bright Vicki Booten collection and the same stencil and texture paste and watercolors. I am not going to be using the same watercolor set as I did in the original video, but I am going to be using watercolors. I just bought these Vicki Booten watercolors, and so I'm going to use those instead. The original video shows me using a set of $5 watercolors that I got at Walmart. They're also available on Amazon. They're nice watercolors for a starter set, but it's also fun to play with new ones. So I'm going to pause, I'm going to get started, and I will be right back. All right, I went ahead and I taped down my stencil. I kind of wonder if that's the same washi tape that was on the stencil the last time I used it. It's very possible. A lot of times I just wash it and put it up with the washi tape back on, and a lot of times the washi will stick again, and that particular washi tape was super sticky anyway. I'm just going to put some of this texture paste on here. I'm trying to not really get a square looking area, just kind of a blob area of the texture paste. And now I've let it dry, and I am going to get some of the watercolor on here. Now I had not opened these watercolors yet, and I am seriously amazed at how they are so beautifully saturated when they dry. The original layout that I did, I used a cheap $5 set. It was either from Walmart or Amazon. You can get them in both places for relatively cheap. It may not be that cheap anymore with the price of things going up, but they're not as saturated as this is. And so I really enjoyed playing with these. And then as they dried, I realized that they had some shine to them too. So that's super fun. Yay, go Vicki. So I am just adding more color to this. I'm only going to be using the pink, the purple, and the blue, and I'm kind of making sure that it runs and blends into each other as I go. This purple is a stunning, stunning purple. I was really pleased with how it looked, and I also loved that I was able to get it to run down, and I could mix the colors up and get them blended up in there very well. So as I was playing with this color, and I realized that the blue and the purple mixed together made yet another gorgeous blue, or a gorgeous purple. I went ahead and tried to make sure that I got it to blend like that, because it just, that color is so stinking pretty. Now I also have a huge tin of liquid watercolors that I purchased a couple of years ago that has a whole bunch of colors, and then I have the little tubes, to add more color into my tin as I go. So, I've got a lot of watercolors to play with. Look how that dried so nicely. So I decided to just use all of the scraps, or a lot of the scraps that I had left in a little page protector with the rest of the collection. I have a few full sheets of the pattern paper left. I ended up sharing the remainder of my color study collection with Kristen, who is Scrap It on the Fly, if you don't know her, because she said it was one of her favorite collections. And since I had some left, I split up what I had left with her and sent her about half of what I had left. And that way I have room for more in my 49, or my Vicki Boutin stash, and she also got some more of what she really loved, especially since you can't get that collection anymore. At least I haven't seen it anywhere for sale, so I just thought it was nice to share. Anyway, I'm scuffing up the edges of all of these pattern papers. I used the black piece, of course, to put my photos on, and cut down the striped piece. I think I cut it in half and just got a nice size block there. That is actually surprisingly one of my favorite stripes from this collection. I love that it's kind of grungy and looks like it has some watercolor on it. I don't know, it just makes me happy. Also, it's blue, so that probably has a lot to do with it. Blue is my favorite color. I also love this piece of blue, which ironically looks more like Sweet Rush to me than it does Color Study. But when I first got Color Study, and I also got Sweet Rush, I think around the same time frame, I used them in one of my counterfeit kits together. And I used quite a bit of it, but I still have quite a bit of it left. I actually think I have more Sweet Rush left than I did Color Study, but I tried to use as much of it as I could that month, but I just didn't get all the way through either collection. Anyway, again, I'm just kind of scuffing up all of these papers and just kind of making sure that I get them to look the way that I want them. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fussy cut 5 of these rainbows out. And they cut out relatively quickly. I will say that this is probably my least favorite of the patterned papers because that is very busy, but cutting out the rainbows really helped. I also scuff up each rainbow. I can't remember if I do that on camera or not. And honestly, I used the back side of this paper, probably it's yellow with some nice little stars on it, and so I probably used it for that side, definitely not for this very busy, very, very loud pattern paper. Just kind of not my favorite. But as I get these all cut out and I continue to think on what I'm going to do next, I'm just going to start laying things out so that I have a good idea of where things are going to go. I know that this video is kind of on the long side compared to most of mine. Usually when I do mixed media, that is the case. It does take quite a while to get all the way through it, and I don't want to leave out too much of the process because I know some of you are new to mixed media or still learning, and I want to be able to showcase kind of what I do with the mixed media so that you can play too. Now, I've said this before on my videos, mixed media is just something that I love to play with, and yes, it's messy, and yes, you can make a mistake, but as you will hear me say quite often, it is just paper, and it is okay. If you mess up a sheet of paper, just start over. It's fine, especially if it's just a piece of blank white paper. I know it's a little bit harder to say that about a beautiful piece of pattern paper if you're trying to mess with mixed media on that, but on a piece of plain white paper, it's not as big of a deal. You can just toss it and start again. I have several backgrounds that I've started for layouts that I have just set aside that didn't work in the end, but weren't horrible, so I kept them. And then I've done others where I've wadded them up and put them in the trash. Of course, you never see that on camera because if I don't like it, I just don't finish it. But I do like that you can play around with mixed media and kind of make it your own. I'm kind of just messing around with these embellishments, trying to get them where I wanted them to go. I wanted to use those vellum butterfly, and it's a moth. The other one's a moth. I do know the difference, but it just wasn't standing out like I wanted them to on the page, so I put them off to the side again. I also wanted to use one of these little dotted banner things on my layout. The original layout and sketch had banners up there in that left-hand corner. I'm just instead using it as an embellishment cluster. Now I'm going to add a little bit more pattern paper to the bottom. I decided that I didn't like the rainbows just floating down there at the bottom. They kind of, I don't know, I just didn't like the way that looked, so I am going to go ahead and put a strip of that blue striped paper. Now, because I cut it in half, I don't have a full sheet to make 12, but because it's a striped paper, it's really easy to piece it together. And I'm going to go ahead and tear the edges rather than scuff up the edges, just because I think it adds some more visual interest. So as I finish up tearing this last little bit off of the border that I'm putting down at the bottom to anchor my rainbow border, I am going to go ahead and also add some splatters using two of the watercolors that I used on the layout. I'm just going to use the same palette, I'm going to grab these colors, and I'm going to go ahead and cover my photos. That way I don't have to worry about getting the splatters on top of the photo. I am using a piece of scrap paper from this collection, and I don't mind that I get splatters on it because I can just build off of them for the next layout. I tend to keep scraps of this size with my collection. I don't divvy them up into my scraps that I keep underneath my desk. And I don't know, where do you keep your scraps? I keep mine in a milk crate by folder and color underneath. It's right underneath my desk so I can grab if I need to. So this layout has turned out a lot better than I expected. I was really happy that I was able to use the same stencil with mixed media technique and just build on it. The layout does not look exactly like my original, which is awesome, but it's still a scrap lift and it still looks quite a bit like it, and I really enjoyed this. Thanks, Shannon. All right, my layout is completely finished. I am quite happy with the way that this turned out. Let me pop up the original layout. You can see that it is really similar to the original layout, but it's still different. Of course, they're not even going to be going into the same album, so even if they were exactly the same, it wouldn't be a big deal. This layout is going into the 2016 album, or one of them, and the original layout is actually going into a 2018 album. I haven't even bought albums for 2018 yet, but that layout is completed for that year. Those photos are of me and my sister, and of course, this is a set of photos of Jasper when he was a kitten. And you know, fun facts, he actually had to supervise to make sure that I was scrapbooking him correctly. So I've got clusters, and I'm really proud of all of the clusters that I got on there still with the layering. I still, even though I left out the banners from the side and the top left, I still got lots of layering on there, and that made me really happy. I want to thank you for coming to my channel today. I really appreciate those of you who take the time to like, comment, and or subscribe to my channel. If you are new here, I do interact with my subscribers, so if you have any comments or questions about this layout, just drop those below. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Also, because this is a special hop that I am participating in, please check that description box below. There's a playlist. Watch Shannon's video. Her video is at the very top of the playlist. She has a giveaway going on this month, and you need to check out her video so that you are eligible to get in on her wonderful, wonderful giveaway. You guys have a great rest of your day. Happy Thursday. Bye.